guys, it's Kirby. Welcome to my channel. Today we're doing another riveting episode of Libby Listens. This is just a once a month series that I have started just last month, recommending or talking about the audiobooks that I have been listening to. In my first episode of it, I will call it an episode. In my first episode, I explained what Libby is and how it works. So if you are interested in learning more about Libby and how it works, you can check it out. I think it's gonna be linked over here. I don't know. Whichever corner it's linked in, I will link that video up above so you can check out all of that jazz. I will also link it in the description box so you can check out Libby on your own time. But essentially it is a library book app for ebooks and audiobooks. I'm into audiobooks. So let's get into it. I'm gonna do my face while I talk to you guys about some audiobook recommendations. I got some good ones. So I wrote down all of the audiobooks that I've actually listened to since last year, like all of the audiobooks that I have listened to on Libby, and it's close to about 30 books. So again, forgive me if some of these descriptions of the books, of the recommendations, aren't necessarily the best because not all of them are like fresh in my mind. The first one we're going to talk about is So Close to Being the Shit Y'all Don't Even Know by Retta. People, please. I love Retta. I particularly like her character that she plays on Parks and Rec, Donna Meagle. Like, honestly, I want to become Donna Meagle. Her aesthetic, her attitude, her everything. Past season 1. Season 1, they try to do Donna Meagle so bad with that like old haircut and whatnot. Season 2, they give her a glow up and then she becomes the fierce badass that we all know. Because I loved her character so much and I like her acting so much, I decided to read her audiobook. It does not disappoint. One, I really like it because she reads it. You know, again, if you listen to my first episode of Libby Listens, I love a good like celebrity memoir, or rather, I even like a memoir that the author reads. I just like it when the author reads the book a little bit more because you can tell that they are saying it in like the voice that they had imagined it in their head. They're getting the story across a little bit better and a little bit more, I don't want to say convincing, but it's just more enjoyable when the book is read by the author. So she reads it, and it's pretty much just about her life and her childhood, her career path, kind of how she got to where she is, how she booked Parks and Rec. Then we take a slight detour at the end of the book to talk about her love of hockey and her love of Twitter and how those two things intersected with each other. And overall, it was just a good, easy listen to kind of just learn more about like how she got to be where she is. She actually went to medical school, saw Jerry Seinfeld performing, I guess, in her school cafeteria and was like, and then, you know, kind of sparked this is like comedy, this is what I want to do, I want to act, I want to do these, I want to perform, you know, kind of launched that part of her life and career. Parents were always supportive, and I think it's funny too that she kind of is like, yeah, medical school and like being a surgeon or whatever is like a backup plan to everything else. So I just found her life story to be very interesting, and just how her family interacts and kind of like her family's culture and how that surrounded her and how that kind of like formed her relationships and her thinking, and just how that kind of like propelled her through life and things like that. It was just a good, easy listen. It was like a fun listen. So yeah. As we move on to the eyebrows, the next book that I listened to that I really enjoyed. These are also in no particular order. It's not like a list of favorites 1 through 5 or anything. It's just random order. I chose these to talk about today. The next one is Over the Top by Jonathan Van Ness, part of the Netflix Fab Five. Jonathan Van Ness's book. How to even? So, it's about his life story. It is very emotional. It is about his journey from basically childhood till now. It is about his journey about coming out. It is about his journey about the trauma that he suffered as a child. It is about the journey in some of the not so savory decisions that he made as a teen and young adult. It then goes into kind of how that like all shaped his character to then be able to try out, audition for, you know, Queer Eye on Netflix, and just it just takes you on this very emotional journey. I was crying like listening to it. Which probably, like, I was also sitting in my office, like, this is my office, you don't see the other parts of it, but I was just sitting in my office. I was cleaning, and then it got to, like, a really heavy part of the book, and I just was sitting there crying, and then my husband comes in, and he's like, are you okay? Oh my gosh, like, what's the matter? And I was like, it's just this book. He's like, oh, okay. It's just an emotional journey. To me, it was eye-opening. It was also kind semi-informative. I mean, not like informative as in he gives you like statistical analysis of his life or anything like that, but it was informative just of like the potential for certain decisions to be made at different times in your life. I'm obviously never going to experience his story or somebody else's story. So to me, it just gave me perspective, and it kind of was a little eye-opening to be able to see what can and can't happen in situations of trauma, or where you're not feeling love or supported in the way that you need to be loved and supported. So yeah, it was very up and down. However, Jonathan Van Ness does read the book. It is read by the author. So even though it is unbelievably emotional, he says it, or he's reading it in his like Jonathan Van Ness voice, which is very perky and very like, you go girl, like, you know, just clean yourself up, it's fine. And so sometimes you're kind of like, wait, no, this is a very serious moment, like, let's take a step. But I think that kind of helps you to kind of like get through and understand him a little bit better, if that makes sense. But yes, Over the Top. This book also might not be everybody's cup of tea. Like, I'm just letting you know, that's okay. I found it very interesting to listen to, but yeah, just be aware that like, there might be some trigger moments in this book, so you might want to read like the back cover or have a little bit of like an understanding of the book and the traumas that he goes through in his life before you listen or read it, just FYI. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to eyeshadow before we talk about our next book, and I'm going to use the Ace Beauty Vintage Dawn palette. I'm going to be doing like an orange yellowy look. We'll see. I also have the Take Me Back to Brazil BH Cosmetics palette as a helper palette. So yeah, let me try and get started. Okay, so our next book is Becoming by Michelle Obama. Guys, this book, it's a doozy. It is long, like long. Most of the books that I borrow are anywhere from like 6 hours, which is on the very short end, to maybe 8 or 10. This one was like 19 hours. So her book was so long. So good, but so long. I do recommend listening to it on a 1.25 speed. Not to get through it quicker, but just because she does speak kind of slowly, so you can speed it up a little bit. One, love that she reads the book. Love that it is narrated by the author, Michelle Obama herself. Love that. She is very thorough. Becoming kind of is broken up into like 3 or 4 parts. It's broken up into like her childhood, her like teen, college years, then her marriage relationship with Barack Obama, and them becoming president and first lady. Which the whole, like, whether it's the very beginning or the very end, it is a wonderful story, or rather, I don't want to say story, but it is a wonderful narrative the whole way through. It is interesting to see where she came from in Chicago, and her family dynamics and her family relationships and things like that, and how that kind of has shaped her through her life, and then in her life going to college and, you know, being this extraordinary person, and then meeting Barack Obama. She talks a lot in the end of the book about their personal life in the White House, and how being parents as the president and first lady were, and how their children, their 2 daughters, dealt with it, and like her daughter going to prom, and like them advocating for her to drive in his car to prom, and because they wanted to create like normalcy, like they wanted their children to lead like normal lives while they were president and first lady. You know, they were the first family, and so it was very interesting to me, kind of like the normalcy of life when they weren't, you know, like out in the public eye, is like, you know, they had like TV and iPods and newspapers and games and stuff. You know, they just lived their life in the White House. They were just the first family. And there's like a lot of obviously things that go along with that. I'm not trying to say there isn't, obviously, but it was just kind of interesting to listen to her perspective about them being there, and the trials and the joys and things that they got to experience while being there. Her whole life and her whole situation, her whole journey was just very interesting to listen to. It kind of gives you like a little like behind the scenes of some of the moments that, you know, you don't always get to know or see from that type of position. So just a wonderful journey story. Again, very enjoyable to listen to. The only thing is that it is very long. So if you are looking for a good long audiobook, Michelle Obama's Becoming, right up your alley. Alright, I did my other eye off camera because I'm running out of books to talk about while I'm doing my makeup, because I'm talking about the books to quit. The next book that we are going to talk about is The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher. So, I don't know if she intended for this to be like a comedy or not, but I found many of the parts of her book very, very funny. One, it is narrated by the author, and who doesn't love a good story told by Carrie Fisher? One. Two, she gives some like good juicy tidbits from her life, from her childhood to Star Wars, basically, and after. She gives basically what it was like growing up with Debbie Reynolds as her mother, and the, we'll put it, unconventional childhood that she lived, because her father left Debbie Reynolds for Elizabeth Taylor, if I'm remembering correctly, and how that kind of, for maybe lack of a better word, shaped her, because I honestly think that that probably did her a world of, like, it wasn't for the better, let's put it that way. I think there were a lot of things from her childhood that scarred her. Then she kind of says how she fell into the role of Princess Leia. Not that she didn't obviously earn it or anything like that, but that she was very young when she was Princess Leia. I didn't realize how young she was. I think she was like 19 when she was acting in the role of Princess Leia. It was her first, I believe, her first real like acting gig, if you will. And again, if I'm remembering correctly, she like left school or left acting school or left some type of schooling to go and like do this movie, Star Wars, which apparently at the time nobody really thought it was going to be anything. So she kind of takes us on this journey of her as a young actress, her as a young woman, her with her mental illnesses and things like that. So she talks about her affair with Harrison Ford, her relationships with Mark Hamill. She talks about how, you know, Star Wars pretty much like changed her life, you know, for better or worse, I guess you could say. She does talk about then her but her adulthood and kind of like being, you know, famously broke, I guess. Like, you know, you're super, super famous for being Princess Leia, but then at the same time, she has a terrible spending habit, or she did. She had a terrible spending habit, so then, like, you know, you're always, she's always broke and kind of, like, strapped for cash and things like that. Like, it was just kind of an eye-opening, you know, again, a very eye-opening experience listening to her talk about her life so openly and just about everything that had happened. So yeah, it was funny, it was interesting, it was a good listen. Carrie Fisher, may you rest in peace. I love that, you know, like we're able to preserve a little bit of her because she has read her audiobook. Allegedly, I believe she did get Harrison Ford's permission to talk about all of the scandalous details that she says about their spicy affair in this book. So while I'm finishing up my complexion with bronzer, blush, and all that jazz, I'm gonna probably finish my eyes off camera because there's this like patchiness that's happening. I think that's just the reflection of, yeah. Anyways. While I am finishing up my complexion on camera, I will talk about my last book, which, surprise, surprise, is a celebrity memoir. I know, I thought I had you fooled, right? That it was going to be something else, but it's not. I promise you guys I am listening to other books other than just celebrity memoirs. It's just these are the ones that I started with to get me rolling in audiobooks, but my tastes have expanded, I promise. So if you stick with the Libby Listens series in future months, I promise there will be other books that I talk about other than just celebrity memoirs. So this last one is If You Ask Me by Betty White. I love Betty White. Who doesn't? I mean, she's like a national treasure. I'm pretty sure she'll outlive us all. Again, I love that it is read by the author because one, I love Betty White's voice. And two, I just love that, again, like your own personal story should really be read by you, if that makes sense. So if you ever write a memoir about yourself, make sure that they do not trick you into getting a professional reader to read it like, you know, probably should. Make sure you read your personal memoir. I think what I like a lot about this book in particular, the If You Ask Me, is it's not even really like Betty White talking about her life. It's just kind of like Betty White talking about topics of like if you'd ask her. Like she talks a little bit about her relationship with her husband. She talks a little bit about life and like, you know, being a celebrity and like weight loss a little bit and things like that, which she's like, I never concerned myself with it. If I gained a pound on the scale in the morning, I just would admit something. You know, like she just tells it like it is. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily that like for any particular reason it's like an astounding read or anything like that. It's very easy to listen to. It's very pleasant to listen to because it's in Betty White's voice, but it's a quick read too, if I remember correctly too. Her book is not that long at all. She's just recollecting like some stories, some thoughts, some, you know, wisdom and knowledge from her experience and her life that, you know, maybe you could benefit from, maybe you couldn't benefit from. I also think that, you know, sometimes it's just fun to hear people's perspectives, even if you don't agree. All that to say, Betty White is a national treasure. You should listen to her book, if you ask me. It was just really great, easy listen. And let's be honest here, who doesn't love Betty White? Like, give me a reason why you wouldn't love her. So, that's all the books. I'm going to go off camera real quick and finish my eyes and lips and then come back to kind of wrap this video up. Alright guys, so here is the look, and those are my audiobook recommendations. I will link all of the books and the products that I use down in the description box, so if anything tickles your fancy, you can check it out on your own time. What do you guys think? I kind of like it. It's like a Phoenix meets eyeshadow situation today, and I like it with a glossy lip, like nothing harsh, like just bright and effortless, just like me. So yeah, let me know what you thought about the look, what you thought about the audiobook recommendations. Do you have any book recommendations? Please let me know down in the comment section. Let's start a conversation. As always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up. And also, be sure to subscribe and hit the little notification bell so you don't miss out on any more Libby Listens or makeup tutorials. Thanks so much for watching, guys.